You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Be warned that once you pick up a refreshingly cold drink from McDonald's and people see just how refreshingly cold that drink from McDonald's is, you may create drink envy. Because there are drinks, then there are drinks from McDonald's.
For a morning brew that really creates a stir, get any size iced coffee, including caramel and French vanilla, for just 99 cents before 11 a.m. Price and participation may vary, cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Sorry.
Greg Cote of the Miami Herald is skyrocketing. Look at him, intoxicated by the sound of his own voice, of his own sneezes. He is so delighted with himself. Can I get an update, please, Chris Cote, on the PFPI Gala? What were the annoying things your father did last night? It was a big hit. It's sponsored now. It's got its own sponsorship. Again, for those of you who do not know, do we have video of this? We must have pictures somewhere of Greg Cote in a suit that I'm guessing is from 1974 that he breaks out just for the gala. It seems like an old suit. It is a bit rumpled, and it is in a living room that feels like, I've been in that living room. It's a lovely living room, but it looks on camera like it's also stuck in 1980.
The love seat they have behind him is like my mom's mom. It's like an old looking chair.
I mean, it's a love seat. That's enough right there.
Yeah.
Tony, why are you laughing in Greg Cote's face about his home?
It makes me think of like, this is really dark, but it makes me think of like a funeral home where you have like mismatched pieces.
Look at it. Look, you tell me.
Like
look at how proud.
That love seat that you can see the corner of was made in 1942.
Like Hawk has that in his funeral home.
Yes.
Okay, in fairness, Jumpin' Charlie ravaged the love seat. It used to be in better shape than it is, upholstery-wise.
Okay, but this is a photograph that looks like it was taken the way that they used to take photographs with a old gunpowder and a 1920s West saloon.
Underneath a curtain.
You pull a chain. You pull a chain. Like, those people would never understand that you have thousands of these now on your phone. Your great-grandfather looks like your great-grandfather. That is a photo. You tell me I'm wrong. That photo from the PFPI Gala looks like something that was taken in a saloon in the 1880s, back when photography was being, rounded into shape.
It is embarrassing. It looks like an old-timey, what do they call it, daguerreotype?
You're holding a trophy here. Did you win? You win?
I'm a 9-time champion, but I did not win this year, no.
You were the commissioner, and you are awarding the trophy.
Yep.
And Chris, what were the most mockable details from last night?
Well, the entire thing. I mean, we replayed. There's like a 10-minute clip on the Greg Cote show if you want to listen to it. It's just my dad having a self-serious monologue while the room is just having conversations. Like, people aren't. Like, you just hear my mom and my mom and my wife just talking about their plans, like, on Wednesday.
Was it recorded for the podcast? Did you get fresh audio?
We recorded it, and then I had to go through it and tighten it because there's a lot of dead air in the, a lot of times.
Your father forgets he's performing and just gets lost in the romance and nostalgia of his own breath.
He always gets mad at me because I make fun of how he reads. Like, he's up there just in front of his family. Like, he could just be like, we had fun. Thanks for everyone. Like, you came in fifth. He's up there literally having pages of like a written out speech.
Correct.
And it's just like a boy in his 40 years ago, a boy, and it's just so awkward. And he reads, and then he gets mad when I make fun. He's like, "I'm clearly reading. Look, there's this it's like I know."
And he's accusing me of reading when it's so obvious.
No, I'm not accusing you. I'm making fun of you for reading.
Okay, it is what it is. I take my speech seriously. I have to go over several statistical
It's the same
categories.
speech every year, though. Like, you just fill in, like, the standings?
No, everything changes.
It starts every year with, a boy had a dream.
Well, in a corner bedroom.
I'm telling you, it's the same speech every year.
1440. That's where the coffee can incident happened as well.
Which
was right around the same time PFPI was born, in circa 1968, 69. And it survives all this time. It's a phenomenon. It's the best family football prediction league in America.
That's probably true.
And we run it. I run a tight ship. Okay, I'm a commissioner, and I take the title seriously.
You let my 6-year-old daughter. You let my 6-year-old daughter.
I know. And what did she do? She was the co-rookie of the year. We had one rookie win.
There was
the
2 rookies.
and the other rookie has 17
All right, please,
unique hits.
Listen, please. Dear
Second
God.
all time.
17 unique hits.
Yeah, the record is 18 by Ruth's Raccoons.
Who's Ruth?
May she rest in peace.
Who won?
That's my dad's mom who passed away, who used to ask us when we got back from golf, who won? Even though I always won.
Christopher would always beat me and Uncle Dick by 25 strokes, and Nana would say, "Who won?" every time we walked in.
Who won once a week? Who won?
So that's who Roost Raccoons. And now she has an award named in her honor.
Let me tell you why I'm laughing so hard, okay? Because your father is now full on delirious, okay? Drunk on fame and ego. Just laughed in the face of local icon Ron McGill for an honor that is local icon worthy. Just laughed in his face.
Yeah, the Arbuckle's Hall of Fame. You don't get any
Arbetters,
better
that's a
than that.
fine.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking of Fatty Arbuckle.
I was too. What are the chances?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that support.
What I was going to say, Chris, is your father, drunk off of Las Vegas success, book success, podcast soaring, was just happier and more intoxicated by the sound of his own voice when you just simply asked him, give me information about your Lobos and that league. That is your father at maximum interest in sports at this point.
Correct.
Look at how happy he is with that league, with writing his notes, with keeping his stats. If I were to take from your father...
Yeah, podcast having a great week, by the way. Greg Cote Show. I could write a book
Featuring-
about PFPI and might.
featuring Greg Cote.
Yeah, with.
Your podcast
Please don't write that book.
is very popular, but you love talking about this stupid league.
Stupid. It's a family tradition. They can only want to know, Hank, why do you drink?
Jeremy, please go sit in the penalty box again. Jeremy, can you...
Actually go this time.
I thought you were
come
talking
back.
to me.
Fatty Arbuckle, can you tell me when he died?
1933, Dan.
Okay. thank
Also,
you.
famously first actor to ever be canceled.
Really?
What? Yeah, September 1921, Arbuckle was accused of sexually assaulting and accidentally killing actress Virginia Rapp at a party in San Francisco.
Yeah, damn cancel culture.
It's been around forever.
Forgive me because Greg Cote has been distracting today, but since you spoke of cancel culture, it made me think of Kid Rock being in the news this weekend. That story was delightful. So the name of the tour is You Cannot Cancel America,
Can't
correct?
Cancel America tour.
And
Co-headlined Kid Rock, Jason Aldean.
because they are going to profit off of there is an absolute lane here for if you are the person who shoots up Bud Light beer cans and hurts their business, you too can ride the embers of late rock star fame.
Well, I don't know what U2 is doing. It would be weird if they were on this tour.
I know what they were doing.
You also can rise to... Kid Rock is making his tour relevant, at least in part because of his politics. And he had to cancel New York shows. Why?
He didn't have to cancel New York shows. I guess the question is why they schedule them to begin with. But yeah, so the You Can't Cancel America tour, co-headlined by Jason Aldean and Kid Rock, actually canceled on parts of America. They decided all these New York dates, we're not going to do them because New York State has the gall to have a free and fair trial against Donald Trump and find him guilty. Accountability, it's like not the favorite thing of public conservatives, especially MAGA conservatives. But yeah, that's where we are right now, that they don't even see the irony in doing this. And for all their complaints about cancel culture, I mean, what if liberals actually successfully canceled without the person acknowledging, yeah, I did that, I'll just go away? We couldn't even stick up for Chick-fil-A. It's too damn delicious. We couldn't keep our ground there. But the liberals don't actually have canceling power, especially if the right are just going to lift up people that have been canceled and make them heroes. I think we've seen time and time again that this is a totally made up thing, except for when the right does it. Because it actually goes somewhere when the right does it. And it makes Bud Light reach out to Shane Gillis and Joe Rogan to try to overcorrect.
And UFC.
To try to market correct what has happened. Peyton Manning. It's a very concerted effort right now by Bud Light on how to get uncanceled. And part of their strategy is just say, just have Joe Rogan say on his show because they're now a sponsor. Well, they figured it out. They're not a problem anymore, guys. The only people that actually, we saw with Target, the only side that is actually doing real canceling, effective canceling, is the right.
I was thinking about this the other day because I've seen how Louis C.K. is flourishing now. And it was, he's one of the best to ever do it. And then a long time ago, he had a different business model that was trying to connect to it with his fans, getting rid of all of the brokers and just selling directly to fans. And he has circumvented through popular, unpopular, polarizing. He now exists in a space where he and Shane Gillis and all of these top 100 podcasts that have been birthed in and around the Joe Rogan universe, he is now somebody who is wildly, wildly popular again and can exist with total freedom in this great space where the top 100 comedy podcasts reside, where it feels like a free speech space. It's like, who is monitoring these people? They can say whatever they want. This doesn't seem like a cancelable thing. And now they can, that is a space that's getting a lot of traction in this industry.
Bad. People love the illusion of someone's trying to stop me from telling you how it is. I've seen that for all these supposed free thinkers, they sure would follow any shirtless former MMA star with a podcast off a cliff.
Yeah, that's where we are.
That's because it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier.
Well, he just makes Bert Kreischer and Ben and the Schaub guy.
No. Conservatives care about trafficking, human trafficking, until Andrew Tate is one of them.
That's correct.
Allegedly.
Whoa.
No.
Yeah, let's not. Let's not.
Not. You got to say that.
You got to do it in this voice.
The Gacky voice.
Howdy, folks. It's Mike Ryan, and this winter weather is a great excuse to gather with friends and crack open a cold one. Make these moments even better with Miller Lite, the great-tasting light beer for people who love beer. We recently had a pretty big football game, did we not? Hopefully you did what I did, which is step outside, crack open a cold one, realize after that very first sip of Miller Lite that I made the right choice. I made the perfect call. Miller Lite just has that dependable flavor that I don't have to worry about. I don't have to waste any time thinking about what I'm drinking. Miller Lite has the right balance between taste and lightness. It means you get to spend more time drinking with your friends and less time thinking about what you are drinking. Miller Lite. Great taste. 96 calories.
Go to MillerLite.com/Dan
to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Don Le Batard.
He needs a wheelbarrow like Mike McDaniel, this dog.
Got a pair?
Man, does he get a pair. My granddaughter sees his schlong.
What are you talking about?
And says, what's that?
No, she doesn't.
No, she did.
There it is.
My granddaughter saw his schlong in the kitchen, and she said, what is that?
What is this, a game of Clue?
And I said, that's what he pees with.
She saw his...
Okay.
How else am I going to explain it?
Stugotz.
It was a little extended. I don't know why he was so excited.
All right, very good.
Baby.
No.
Can I take this out?
It is a baby.
Anyway, he ate my couch.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
I enjoyed a Kid Rock concert at the Fillmore like 15 years ago.
You can enjoy their music. You can find people unctuous, disagree with them politically.
I'm just saying the world has changed a lot since then.
I mean, it has. But, they found their lane. This is also in part a business decision to kind of pivot so hard into one way. And the right, they've shown their loyalty. You can't really question their loyalty. They've gone through just about anything with their cult of personality leader of their movement so far. And it's kind of expected for you to support these people to no end. Anyone that ideologically aligns with you, you find a kinship and you support them.
And this is not unique. As somebody who's gone to a handful of country concerts in recent years, they generally end with the crowd chanting, "Let's go, Brandon," as we walk out. This is not generally, there's this certain type of music. I don't agree with a lot, these chants politically, but you end up in them. It's like what we're going to get at this concert is not going to be different that we're getting at a lot of country concerts.
I love the idea of like a slow pan from a fan of the show finding you in an audience where there's a "Let's Go Brandon" chant happening and just panning to your face like, uh-oh, what am I in the middle of right now?
Let's put up on the screen the $399 Trump shoes here that made an appearance at SneakerCon this weekend. A bit of a surprise. I also want to play some sound here of Stephen Colbert because all of this being normalized when we're talking about hundreds of $1 million judgments being something that feel like they hurt him more than felony counts all over the place because his last move is to make sure to topple democracy and get as much money as he can because you really are in a position where his lawyers can't believe they're going to ever get paid. So he's got to get the money to them up front. And it's just, what an amazing grift to see working in front of people. But here's Colbert trying to fight with liberal voice. Colbert is trying to do the right things, and he's just going crazy.
I know how numb we've become, but it's not normal. No other candidate for the presidency has ever had to pause his campaign to defend himself in multiple courts. And I would like to point out that in all 7 of his cases, no one doubts that he did these things. We're just sitting around patiently waiting to find out if the wheels of justice will grind fast enough for there to be any consequences. And the media is covering it like it's any other political story, like it's all horse race.
Triggered.
He stole Mad Dog's move there. Let me get close to the camera and then back up.
Está viejo.
He took off his glasses and backed off from the camera, and it is madness. It is making even the comedians literally mad and sound mad because it's not in any way normal to have SneakerCon sneakers for $399 to pay for some of the lawyer fees.
First, Trump copies all the other dictators, then he copies LeVar Ball. I mean, please.
It'll work, though.
Yeah, both of them, unfortunately.
Already has.
No, LeVar didn't work. LeVar did not work.
I think it's pretty poignant what he said, what Colbert said at the end. Like, you're just hopeful that the wheels of justice will turn in time for a punitive measure to kind of save us from ourselves because none of these judgments matter. It's crazy when you get an entire group of people to just buy in that anything that is held against me is because there's a very clear agenda. It is all just some major deep state conspiracy to stop me from getting to where I need to be to enact our agenda. These aren't that's a free and fair trial that he makes a mockery of. He doesn't do himself any favors when he storms out, but he was found guilty in that civil suit of disparaging someone's character who accused him of sexual assault. He was found guilty in the state of New York for committing fraud. These are juries of his peers, but they'll just believe that there is some deep state conspiracy and that he didn't actually do.
Tony likes the sneakers. Tony likes the sneakers.
No, because on our preview, if you could put up what we had on our preview, the Trump sneakers are being held by a guy that I follow. His name is Roman Sharf. He's like a watch dealer and incredible.
I was like, I know that guy.
Yeah, I know that guy. I was like, oh damn, that's Roman Sharf.
You look like you love the sneakers.
No, I would never wear those in a million years. But I like Roman Sharf.
What's wrong with
that
the
guy
sneakers?
paid a lot of money for those sneakers.
They're too chunky. The gold is gaudy. They're like between like wannabe like high top Pumas, but also trying to be like Jordan 1s, but they're too thick.
Typical Trump.
It's just not
ornate. It might as have.
They're the thickest shoes.
Yeah, they're a tad thick for me. We're out of the chunky era, by the way. We're trying to move on.
They should have jewels on them.
A big T.
Fake jewels that end up being.
So Roman Sharf, the dude that they accuse of being a Russian oligarch, because I saw like a bunch of headlines, Daily Mail being one of them, that a Russian oligarch bid on these shoes.
That might be, yes, it might
and
be.
And he came out and said, guys, I actually am a political refugee. I came from Ukraine. He's former serviceman.
Very, very wealthy guy and sells watches. But like, if you're part of the watch game, you're selling 50, 60, 70, 80, 100,000, 200,000, $1 million timepieces. It's hard to move that kind of inventory if you don't have very rich friends.
When did you become a high-end watch dealer expert?
This is something that I love. I'm very passionate about watches, and Roman Sharf is one of the guys who's doing top content within the watch community.
How's your collection?
Oh,
it's growing. I work here, so it's growing.
Greg Cote, I want to ask you something. I want to ask if the group has noticed this, because I've been derailed a couple of times by Greg Cote just being the maximum rock star. Just temptation has filled his soul. And so I never finished the story of why and how you came in with that hat from Las Vegas that you said you were stealing from our company because your housekeeper had stolen yours. We started a segment that way and never got the finish on it because I've had to kick you out a couple of times since then.
Yeah. Guillermo, if you're listening, I corrected you didn't steal it. I mean, I gave it to you, but you basically liked the hat. I had taken one from Las Vegas, and I gave it to him because he basically came to me in the kitchen holding the hat, saying, "Is there any way I can get one of these?" or words to that effect.
It's a good hat.
It's a good hat. Yeah, I'm not a hat person, but if I were, I would wear this.
The pointy head, right?
Yeah.
Nice hat.
My head's too small to not look like I'm swimming under a hat.
But so he stole it or he didn't steal it. Why are you walking around with? Why are you stealing it from our company? Because you gave it to your housekeeper, who you then accused of stealing.
I saw a stack of hats, a parade of hats. I took one.
As one would do.
Yeah, that kind of thing. I feel I'm entitled to it. I contribute. I'm a contributor, and so forth.
Because you are one of the largest local critics of all things Lionel Messi. We have not had a lot of local criticism of anything Messi related. Right. You have been someone somehow who has been a vocal critic. Messi is, for those of you who haven't been following this because we haven't talked about this, Hong Kong and portions of China are furious with Messi because he played in exhibitions after being there and they thought he was healthy and they didn't understand why he didn't play before them. And so he's got a legitimate Hong Kong controversy on his hands. And now he comes to Miami with what you and Mike are saying, and this is dangerous for this franchise that has never done anything important or winning until Messi got here. Like, this franchise has been irrelevant the entire time it has been in
They're
town.
about 4 years old. So
I know, but until Messi, they had done nothing.
But that's really fast for you guys to go from that to what I imagine is going to be a spectacle later this week and the opening of a season that you guys are telling me is championship or bust. And I'm like, really? We're going to do that just because they went from last place to looking really respectable because they got somehow the best of Messi.
They did end up finishing close to last place in their conference last year. But I think where the disconnect is, you hear championship or bust, and you're applying your tiny American sports brain to it. There's 4 opportunities for them to bring home hardware.
I know.
Yeah, they got to win one of them.
Yeah, but in a way, though, that's part of the problem, right? In the middle of MLS season, when you're playing Leagues Cup matches, when you're playing U.S. Open Cup matches, and you're splitting.
That's up in the air, actually.
Okay, but your top 4 players are all like 36, 37 years old. It's difficult. Like, you're going to have to rest Messi.
It is, and also
than you'd like.
And also to have a roster that is compliant with the MLS. And they've had big time injuries to some younger players throughout this preseason. I think if you look over their track record over the last 15 matches, be it exhibitions or end of the season meaningless games, it's not good.
Right.
They've played one really good month of soccer, and it was Messi's first month where they won the Leagues Cup trophy, which actually felt like an achievement. And you've seen MLS prioritize that over the oldest trophy in American competitive sports right now. What's happening with the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup trophy is fascinating because MLS decided to pull their top teams out of this competition because the money's not worth it. They get more money for Leagues Cup, but you have all this tradition. Soccer fans hate what's happening, but the U.S. Soccer Federation is so tied to the hip of MLS that if MLS says we're not making enough money and no one contributes more money to U.S. Soccer Federation than us, they have to. They're at the will of the MLS here. So there's a pretty fascinating thing going on with that cup competition. But Miami has 4 different opportunities: the MLS League season, which, because of how mainstream sports fans work, and I just use Stugotz and Billy as an example, when they're confused as to how someone wins League Cup because they Google the standings and they realize that Inter Miami's at the bottom of that. I think the one that matters the most is the MLS Cup, followed probably by Leagues Cup when you consider the resources that Apple has put behind it, and that's just a competition that was created last year. You have CONCACAF Champions League, which now is going by a different name.
I feel like you've lost both Chris, Cote, and Tony.
So I'm following it. I know what he's talking about.
4 cups.
There's four opportunities presently. Again, I spoke to the ambiguity surrounding the U.S. Open Cup, but there's 4 opportunities for them to win hardware this season.
But which one matters the most, I guess, is my point.
I guess MLS Cup, because whenever you try to speak to a fan about how Miami's
of you
doing
idiots.
this season,
Right. MLS
they'll
Cup,
Google standings and they'll see that Miami's not.
MLS Cup number 1, League Cup number 2. So if you win League Cup, it's like, oh, great, we won it, but like it doesn't really matter.
If you want to go like in true scope, because there is a Club World Cup coming to this country that is replacing a Confederations Cup, you should honestly try to prioritize CONCACAF Champions League, because it gives you an opportunity to be
World Cup.
There is an opportunity to be called the best club in the world, and the only way to play yourself into that competition is by winning CONCACAF Champions.
The third most important is the most important.
CAF, okay.
I would concede that.
And then Club World Cup.
What is the success, Greg?
If they don't win the MLS Cup on a team with Lionel Messi,
The first one. No, that's the first. Number 1, Dan. Yeah.
The League's
they have
Cup is
failed
second.
if they don't win the MLS Cup this season with the only full year of Lionel Messi. That's the starting point they have to win. And because there are so many different competitions, there are so many matches that they will have to play with an old
This is
nucleus
new
team.
and unimproved Dan Le Batard
And
show
that's
with the
the reason
Stugotz.
why-
Gamble on by DraftKings.
Starting is everything when it comes to fitness. Peloton helps you start no matter what level you're at. Wherever you're starting, there's thousands of classes to get you moving. Whether that's beginners or advanced rides, feel-good live DJ rides, or artist-themed rides, they've got something for you. Peloton bike instructors keep you motivated from day one. They'll show you the basics, help take the guesswork out of your workout, and encourage you to build from there. And now with Peloton Entertainment, you can keep moving and watch your favorite TV shows and live sports as you ride. Perfect for those days when you don't want to miss a thing. And if you don't have a bike, take a dance class, take a core class, take Pilates, take a stretching class, start a program with Andy, do a core program with Emma. You can do it all at Peloton. You can get a Peloton row, and you're not even going to get wet because it's inside your own house without water. How'd they do it? I don't know. Wherever you're starting, get moving with a Peloton bike or Bike Plus rental at onepeloton.com/bike rentals. Terms apply.
Staying up late, hanging out with friends, yelling at the game on TV, which I do a lot. You do a lot over a big weekend. So when it's time to start another big week, celebrate Hydration Monday with Liquid IV. It makes everything happen for me. You know, I'm a very active guy, out at the gym, playing hoops, doing all the things that I like to do, staying active. You know what keeps me hydrated is Liquid IV. They've got incredible flavors, sugar-free, by the way. White peach, green grape, lemon lime. My wife, who's a marathoner, whether she's going a 6-mile run, 12-mile run, she loves drinking Liquid IV, and it hydrates faster than with just water alone, all in a single stick. That's it. Got one stick in the back pocket, one in the book bag, on the way from work, to work, wherever I go, I got it on me. Weekends are for going wild. Have a game plan for Monday with Liquid IV. Grab your Liquid IV Hydration Multiplier sugar-free in bulk nationwide at Costco, or get 20% off your first order when you go to liquidiv.com and use code DAN at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Superior Hydration today using promo code DAN at liquidiv.com.
Dan Le Batard.
All of us who were watching college football elevated everything the weekend was because we missed football in general so very much.
You didn't watch the ending of UTEP Jacksonville State. It was awesome.
A dizzy. Boom. Mm-hmm. Stugotz.
It's such a lane for you. Just everything in college football is awesome. Any single thing that happens, she gets deliriously happy about.
Don't you miss viewing sports through that prism, though? Like, I'm envious of Lucy. Like, I wish that I could still be happy.
This is the Dan Le Batard show with the Stugotz.
Let me start it off here.
Match preseason tour, which I call preseason torment, because it's ridiculous that they put their players through all that, let alone the nightmare that happened in Hong Kong and the ensuing controversy, which Messi has to go on he's big in the Far East. He has to go on this channel and apologize, saying, no, I was really sick. It wasn't for political reasons.
And we're back.
It's a nightmare.
He's had to apologize to a lot of oppressive governments for a guy that hasn't said much throughout his career.
Never said anything.
Yeah,
he never says anything.
He is hated because of his lack of participation in some of these friendlies. Right. Friendlies that probably shouldn't have been scheduled.
He's apologized to the U.S. government?
I want to backtrack for just a second here because, Mike Ryan, you were not finished with your point, but in the transition on executive producers, you wanted the segment to keep going, and Chris Cote just ram-railed his father into the hard network out because you wanted to extend. You weren't done talking, and neither was Greg Cote. We found a Greg Cote wheelhouse, something that he's super passionate about, and we got caught in the weeds of whether you want to win the third trophy or the fourth trophy or the first trophy.
What I was trying to avoid was a second segment on soccer. As much as I am passionate about the sport, I understand what the audience wants and what our aptitude is for these things. So I just wanted to extend that rather than what happened, which is us starting a second segment about soccer. When you're out, you're out.
I think it's a fascinating story because Inter Miami, in a way, is in a no-win situation. Lionel Messi is a money tree for them, and they are squeezing it for all it's worth, which is why they went on that 5-nation preseason tour, which I thought was unwise.
Soccer or not soccer, I mean, come on. This is the biggest athlete in the world, and he's playing in Miami, and it's not a small deal, and that there would be a season of expectations. I understand, but the season is coming up right now.
I understand, and everyone kind of agrees. Messi, huge star, and that is a traditional sports take. They have to win something, otherwise this season is a failure, and it's hard to explain to an audience that there's 4 opportunities to win something, and when most of that audience only cares about one, that whether it's accurate or not, to actually put that as the top priority, that's what they end up Googling. It's a really difficult thing to explain.
This is how it starts, though. Like if you want people to have your Premier League knowledge, you want people to know, bring in something from Europe, and if you want to actually grow the sport here with multi-generations, multi-cultures, it starts by sort of explaining this, getting frustrated because you know more than the people who are gathering around just because they got the famous guy.
I don't think I talk anybody into liking the sport by over-explaining these things. It would be a dream for us to be where we probably should be as a host nation in 2026 for the World Cup, and I've got so many eggs in that basket, hoping that the way that we talk about these things right now, it's difficult to connect with Joe Sports Fan when Joe Sports Fan watches the daytime sports programs on the worldwide leaders, and they all kind of handle the soccer discussion the exact same way. If the talents aren't going to take their prep for it seriously, then why should I? And I do think that we're missing a major opportunity here. The World Cup isn't some niche thing. We saw the numbers for the Super Bowl, and I'm sure you've seen this graphic go viral, about 123 million people watching the Super Bowl compared to over 1 billion for the World Cup. 2026 is not some novelty. There's 7 World Cup matches happening in this city alone. It is a massive opportunity. It is a massive boom for our economy. And we're just beginning. There is a years-long ramp up to the World Cup. And I kind of get frustrated in that I see the people, the conversation starters, the needle movers in this industry, and they're really only capable of talking 2 sports. And I really hope that we send people like Stephen A. and Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon, provided that they're still doing this, then to some kind of boot camp. Like the Inside the NBA people go to a 2-day-long March Madness boot camp where they learn things like the 2 guards name from Quinnipiac.
Well, this is so interesting, Mike, when you talk about this, because I got to wondering about this in the hostility toward the All-Star game. I wonder if people have sort of calculated the damage that we've done over the last 20 years in the discourse around that league, around the NBA, that turns that into the travesty it became, where it's a bunch of consternation, at least in part because there have been only 2 sports that the big networks have cared about for the last 15 years. They made basketball, the way that we talk about basketball has knocked baseball out of the way, and hockey's been dying to be talked about this way, and finally is. Like, now, hockey's having a media resurgence in that you have a lot of smart people that aren't storming out of the All-Star game like Bob Ryan, who are loving what they're seeing from hockey. You do need a certain media literacy here, and it is fair to say I'm guilty of it. I've been guilty of it. All I was talking about on television there was football and basketball, and I did like talking baseball, but generally we didn't do that. We had partnerships with football and basketball, And so that's where we spent all of our time, selling football and basketball. I think that's one of the corrosive things that people haven't noticed industry-wide. Once you get into these partnerships and you have rights with these teams, then you become the infomercial broadcaster, controversies or not, for that league. The NHL suffered from not being on ESPN for all those years.
I don't know how you get to the point where soccer talk is entertaining, because I think we know that the stories that have captivated recently, but there is so much background knowledge that you need to get to that it's really difficult. I've struggled doing it, and I'm not of a talent like Stephen A. Smith, but to explain to your audience an entire backstory inside of 30 seconds to actually get to the meat of a conversation, I don't know if it's possible. I just think you need to infuse the daytime sports programming talent base with people that are capable of doing this. Younger generations, if you listen to podcasts like Part of My Take, they're not soccer agnostic. They don't say how boring this is and who wants to see a 0-0 draw.
They don't really talk about it though.
No, but they don't ignore. They don't talk about it in a way that is off-putting either. There is a no, they don't ignore it, especially if there's like a big look. For one beautiful day in November, everybody in December of last year, we were all soccer fans because that World Cup was that World Cup final was one of the greatest sporting spectacles we'd ever seen. I do hope that there is an infusion of sports talent that can talk about the NFL and the NBA, but also not show their ass on soccer, so we can talk about this and really build to something special.
And I would add that one of the 7 matches Hard Rock Stadium is going to host in 26 is a quarterfinal match. That's when it gets really serious. You're down to the final 8 teams. That's going to be huge globally. That's a Super Bowl, a quarterfinal World Cup match. That's enormous. It's going to be one of the biggest events ever in South Florida history.
Soccer in the United States, it's dead.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Done. Okay. See ya.
So 4 cups.
Yeah, this was what I was trying to avoid.
You want to win the Club World Cup? Is that one super important? Because it's got World Cup in it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, that's a new competition. That's a big one.
That's a big one.
Well, it's an expanded version of an older competition.
But different than CONCACAF. CONCACAF is
it's just a regional
one. Okay.
Yeah.
Ladies and
Done.
gentlemen. Okay.
See ya.
League Cup.
I wanted to...
That's just MLS and Liga MX.
And then Liga MX. That's right. It's kind of Battle of North America.
Okay. See ya.
Gotcha. And then MLS Cup is the big one. We want to win.
Did you guys see what happened with Anthony Rendon? We keep talking about Anthony Rendon as sort of the spot where baseball salaries exploded and everybody got confused, where everybody was worth a Giancarlo Stanton contract, including Anthony Rendon going from the champion Washington Nationals to the Anaheim Angels. And since then, not playing very many games. And now, as he enters spring training, throwing out the quote for the masses that is in the same place where people get mad at basketball players for not caring enough about the All-Star game, Anthony Rendon shows up to spring training after his offseason quote. The only offseason quote he had that anyone paid attention to was him saying the season's too long, when he's been too hurt to play in any of the games. And he's not wrong. The season is too long. But now he's put his name as a symbol for something on the quote, baseball's not my priority in life. And then he clarifies with faith and family is. But everyone's noticing the first part of that because of who he is and how much he makes, and they don't care so much about the second part of that, which they would agree with, right? Many faith and family people would say, well, baseball shouldn't be his priority. But he is making so much money that Anthony Rendon, now being quoted as saying baseball's not a priority for me, is the aggregated headline that would make Anthony Rendon hate the media.
Right quote, wrong voice for it. It's cool to prioritize the things in your life over your job. I show up here, man. I make money. This is my job. Not the right guy to be saying that after this particular offseason.
Everyone can say that because the answer is no, Rendon. God is not more important than that third inning at bat for Anaheim.
Well, if you ask certain people in
Anaheim. Your kids are not as important as game 112 of Anaheim season. They're sub 500 again, and their ERA as a staff is 7.
I mean, there are fans that get mad when players miss because of the birth of a child. So, you know.
Well, but that's stupid. That happened this year in a Bengals game.
Right, it happens.
An offensive lineman for the Bengals played in a 38-11 loss and FaceTimed his wife, who should rip the shit out of him for not having the right priority. Like, what are you doing?
That's absolutely right.
What are you doing? If you're going to do that, you got to do that when you're playing for the Chiefs, not for an injured Bengals team that Joe Burrow's not on. If Burrow's healthy, then you think about it.
Rendon's played 200 of a possible 546 games for the Angels. Not the right messenger.
He's a terrible messenger. I can't think of a worse one. But it's not a controversial thing to say that God and family are more important than baseball.
Yeah, you almost have to, even if you don't believe it.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's just something you say. God, family, and
kind of like I miss my wife. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, family, and football.
Except Greg Cody, he doesn't say
That's
that.
the quote, though.
I have that sign hanging up in my house.
God, family, and football.
There's certain things you have to say, even if you don't
Well,
believe
what is
them.
the thing that you're saying, though?
God, family, 7 college football seasons.
See, I actually disagree with Greg. I think if you're a player who's coming into a new season, you're at spring training, they're asking you what your top priority is. My top priority this offseason was getting into the best shape that I could. It was really improving my game. I want to make sure that I'm available to my teammates. I want to make sure that I'm out here fulfilling what my contract is all about. That was my top priority this offseason, improving my game and being available to my teammates.
Okay, and then the headline is Smith blames family, comma, God for obsession with football.
Family, comma, God.
That's right.
Just to be clear, incidentally, Greg Cody laughed in the face and continues to laugh in the face of one Ron McGill, who has been honored locally, a Hall of Fame during one of the breaks. He says it's like Jiffy Lube having a Hall of Fame. He's just shouting at whoever will listen. But just for the record, here is some sound of Greg Cody enjoying the sound of his own voice introducing batters in the minor league game at Greg Cody Day.
Stepping to the plate, number 13, Yeltsin and Encarnacion.
Encarnacion.
Greg Cody Day. It was in Fort Myers. We talked about it for weeks.
Stepping to the plate, number 13, Yeltsin and Encarnacion.
I think it was misspelled on the sheet I was reading from.
There was a Marlin with the last name Encarnacion.
It's shocking how little of Miami you've absorbed in all the years you've lived here.
Encarnacion.
Howdy, folks. It's Mike Ryan, and this winter weather is a great excuse to gather with friends and crack open a cold one. Make these moments even better with Miller Lite, the great-tasting light beer for people who love beer. We recently had a pretty big football game, did we not? Hopefully you did what I did, which is step outside, crack open a cold one, realize after that very first sip of Miller Lite that I made the right choice. I made the perfect call. Miller Lite just has that dependable flavor that I don't have to worry about. I don't have to waste any time thinking about what I'm drinking. Miller Lite has the right balance between taste and lightness. It means you get to spend more time drinking with your friends and less time thinking about what you are drinking. Miller Lite. Great taste. 96 calories.
Go to MillerLite.com/Dan
to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Ah, the sizzle of McDonald's sausage. It's enough to make you crave your favorite breakfasts. Enough to head over to McDonald's. Enough to make you really wish this commercial were scratch and sniff.
And if you're a sausage person, now get 2 satisfyingly savory sausage McGriddles, sausage biscuits, or sausage burritos for just $3.33. Or mix and match. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal. Single item at regular price.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.